Do you trust people who never say no?
No. So does that mean you trust me?
You don't want to know the answer to that anyway. Why don't you trust people who always say yes?
Because it's human nature. You simply can't believe that someone agrees with everything you say. This isn't a podcast with all the answers.
It's a conversation about figuring things out as you go.
From two very different generations.
With Michelle R. Williams
and Nick Hurst.
Welcome to Life Happens.
And before we get into all that no stuff, I should just say welcome to the 30th episode of Life Happens, but you can too.
Yay!
Here we are, 30 episodes in. I'm still wearing the same clothes I wore last week, for last week's episode as well.
Wow, Nick, this joke is not even funny anymore. Stop with that. It's not funny. It makes me feel like I have no clothes. Just because you don't doesn't mean that I don't. No, we are recording 2 episodes in one day, just to clarify. Thank you. But yeah, episode 30. And when I saw that, I was like, wow, that's good. And then I went to listen to some of my favorite podcasts and I saw the number like 500 and so on. And I was like, oh, never mind then. Because like, if you look at like, you know, the famous podcasts and so on, they are going for ages and they have hundreds of episodes. And here I was almost celebrating number 30. On the other hand, just to be nice to us, I think that I don't want to say I'm surprised that we got to this point, but yeah, good for us. Like, I'm proud of us, you know? And I genuinely think that if I look back to episode 10, episode 20, and episode 30, I feel like we are really working on ourselves and we are really moving forward. And that's the important thing, isn't it?
They are progressing, and we knew they would. You know, that people, the podcasters, have always said that, you know, they go back and revisit earlier episodes and think, oh, no, really? Did we sound like that? And, you know, when we started out, I think we were aware that we weren't quite catching what we knew we could do and the actual reasons that we started doing it in the first place.
Yeah, but I don't want to say that we know that now, because one day I will look back at this episode and I will be cringing. So let's not get ahead of ourselves, you know?
Good point. Very good point. But I should just say that I saw somewhere on one of the various podcasts, websites or websites about podcasts, that something like 75% of people never make it past 10 podcasts or something. When they start
10 podcasts?
Yeah, 10 in total. They just give up. So,
podcasts? You mean episodes?
Episodes, yes. Episodes.
Because I don't know about you, but I do not do 10 podcasts. I mean, if you are cheating on me, I don't want to know, but I certainly do not do 10 podcasts.
And episodes.
Well, then.
10 podcast episodes. There's a podcast that's famous in Czechia that I know you're a big fan of, the two women who do the true crime podcast. And I have actually listened to a few episodes of that, and Mrs.
Not
H.
willingly.
No, I actually used one episode for one of my classes, you know, over and over again, because it happened to be, it was, you know, sadly about a murder that took place a few meters from my front door of where I used to live in England. So I used that as an object lesson. But do you know how many podcasts these two women have done? Because they're very successful in Czechia.
I can tell you exactly, because as you said, I'm a huge fan of them. And I literally heard every single episode at least like 5 times. And they have 442 at the time of our recording.
Wow.
Which is crazy. So they are really close to 500. I think they started in like 2020 during COVID.
Oh, right.
So I think they just, or maybe it was 21 and they recently had 5 years anniversary, which is crazy. I'm like, making a podcast is a commitment. Cause like 5 years, I have no idea what will be happening with me and with my life in 5 years. But now I really hope that we'll be still doing this podcast.
Yeah, let's hope. So long as you don't say no to me too often, or me to you.
Well, see, what would happen if you told me no when I came up with this great and definitely not a crazy idea to start a podcast? And I was so hoping you would say no. When I told you, when I told you I wasn't completely sober, let's be honest. But not only I was expecting you to tell me it's a stupid idea, maybe I was kind of hoping for it. Obviously now I'm so glad that you didn't. But wow, can you imagine all the free time we would have if you only said no?
Bored we'd be with that. Or on the other hand,
Also, yeah.
how much we would have got done on our respective books.
Literally, yeah, maybe I would have a book out by now if I didn't spend so much time doing a podcast. But hey, now I have a podcast out.
So I didn't say no because it was difficult to not say no.
I don't think so. You are exactly the type of person who will not even sugarcoat his no. So yeah, don't act like the victim now, Nick. Really, it doesn't really suit you.
Well, I'm trying not to. I remember when you first posited, word of the
Wow.
podcast, the idea in one of our, well, for me, late night chat when you were in America. And for me, it was past midnight. For you, it was past 5 o'clock in the afternoon. And you were saying, oh, we talk so much, we should have a podcast. And I think that's basically, we probably sort of joked about it for a little bit. And then the next day.
I did.
Yeah. I remember I then thought about it and I thought, actually, and then the next day when we were speaking about it, I said, yes, I didn't say no. So why do we find it difficult? Why do we find it difficult to say no? And mine was a genuine yes. It wasn't like, oh, I'll just keep her amused by not saying
Yeah,
no.
with today's topic, now I'm really questioning it. But as I said, you are someone who has no problem saying no, which
Yeah.
again, maybe we'll have like different takes on that because now I am certainly that type of person who just says no to everything. It's like when you have these like motivation quotes or social media pages and stuff like that. It's always like say yes to everything. You never know what it can offer you and so on and so on. And I'm like, yeah, no. I am exactly the type of person who says no to everything because I'm too comfortable with how everything else is. I wonder, now speaking about like us starting this podcast, I wonder that if the tables were turned and you were the one coming up with that, like, hey, we should start a podcast. I'm really curious, like, if I would agree to it. Because it was my idea, it's obviously a genius idea and I'm on board. If it was your idea, I'm not sure because, yeah, every time you have an idea, I either get drunk or I have so much work afterwards. So, yeah.
Oh. Well, I think let's go to the fear of disappointing people. That's why we generally avoid saying no if we can, or at least avoid being direct about it because we don't want to disappoint people. And I'm surprised at you saying that your default position is no.
Oh no, I was about to say that it is now, but I didn't used to be like this. Just like a few years ago, my whole life, my whole childhood and teenage years, I was a terrible people pleaser who never said no. Mostly, not mostly, but I think that the reason behind it is that I am the first daughter and the expectations put upon me were just so big my whole life that I felt like, I couldn't afford to let people down because being here for everyone and being good in everything I do was the only reason I was liked and accepted. So I think that was a huge reason behind that. I don't know what changed. I think it just changed with my confidence and with, knowing who I am and what are my strengths and shortcomings. Or maybe I just got lazy as well. That I don't know. I don't think that I have a problem with saying no, honestly, even to people that I really love, even to strangers. But as I'm saying, that's my case now. So I can very heavily relate to people who might have problems with saying no.
What's the difficulty with saying no? And we all have difficulty saying no.
I think it's the lack of boundaries with certain people about how strangers perceive you, and for one reason or another you don't want to look bad in front of strangers, so you do help strangers. I feel like today, because like I am all for like helping people and helping strangers, unfortunately I feel like with all scams going on either on the internet but like in real life as well, it just made people so just doubting everything. Because like my point is that I have no problem, or I wouldn't have problem giving someone money if they asked. But unfortunately, nowadays you just think it's a scam. So you don't want to give money to someone who will scam you, even like face to face. And actually, that's one of the things that just makes me really sad. Because if a stranger comes to me, and it happens like so often, and they're like, hey, I need some money for a bus or a train or something. I'm like, I would love to help you, because if it was my case and I would be lost and I wouldn't have, because, I don't wear money, casual money, cash and everything. And so I'm paying with my phone, and I'm like, okay, if my phone dies, what do I do? And so if I needed that help, I would hope that someone would help me. On the other hand, I do not help people because I don't trust them. And so I think that goes a long way with that. If you say no or not, that probably depends on the person you are. And I maybe wish I was a better person, and I wish that I believed that the person asking for money is genuine. But I mean, as you mentioned, I'm a true crime fan, so I see something really sketchy behind any interaction like that. So it's one of the moments that I just say no every single time. And I mean, I did meet people and friends that wouldn't say no. That if something like that happened to us, they would give them money.
Mm-hmm.
And as I'm saying, I'm not sure if it was, I can think of a few examples right now, and I'm not sure if it was because they genuinely believed in like the good in people, or if they just had problems saying no, even to a stranger.
I've been in that situation a lot. I mean, and you know me well enough that it's pointless coming and asking me for money. Anybody.
It's pointless coming to you and asking you for anything, actually.
Charming. But I can remember not so long ago, before I moved to Brussels, being in your hometown where the post office is, the post office, the big post office near the railway.
Yeah.
And there's a car park nearby. And I was in the car park waiting for my wife, and somebody came up to me and started asking me for money, holding out their hands. And from the way they were dressed, you could see that this was, they weren't needing money to get a train to go somewhere or something. They were simply trying to scam you, beg you. But of course, I could then do the thing of, I'm sorry, I don't understand what you're saying. Because they were speaking to me in a version of Czech. I don't think they were actually originally Czech. So the minute I started speaking English, and you could see they couldn't speak English, and they just literally in my face, they just went and walked off, think. And they literally went to somebody getting out of their car nearby and did the same thing to them, who I think actually they got rebuffed again. But I can think of another example from going back to when I was a student, and I was coming home from university. When I say coming home, I was walking back from where the campus was to where my hall of residence was, which was just off campus. And I was in a really, really good mood because, forgive me for this, but I just asked a girl out and she said yes. This didn't happen to me very often.
Do you think that she was just scared to say no? That she was just a people pleaser?
Oh, I didn't want to bring that one into the...
I'm sorry. I'm sure she really liked you.
This happened many, many years ago, so I cannot go and revisit the ins and outs of this particular story. But I only mentioned that because I was in a really good mood, and I was coming home. It was about 5 o'clock in the afternoon, going back to my whole of residence. I was simply going back to get my whole of residence meal. They did very good meals there. Get changed, and then I was going out to meet this girl at the student union bar on campus. And I'm walking past, and there were some sort of quite smart houses that I was going past. And in one of these, in front of these houses, there was this really, really tall pine tree. And then there were these guys stood around with chainsaws and stuff. And they stopped me and said, "Oh, we're got to chop branches off this tree. So could you go up, climb up the tree and take this?"
What?
And at first I'm going, yeah, sure. And then without really thinking about it, and A, I'm terrible at climbing trees. B, I hate heights. And C, what the fuck? I'm not doing a job for you. But at first, none of this occurred to me because I'm, I'm in a good mood.
Of course, yeah. Karma.
And then I'm looking up this tree, and it was really tall. I thought, why on earth are they asking me to do their job for them? And I could see they were obviously complete cowboys, had no idea what they were doing. And they were obviously conned this homeowner into doing tree work that they didn't know how to do. All they had was a chainsaw, and then there was this huge tree, and the tree didn't have any branches on the lower part for about, 3 or 4 meters. So to climb it, you would need specialist gear to get up, which they did not have. And of course I didn't have. And in the end, I just said, no, this is stupid. Good luck with it, and walked off. And that was that.
On the other hand, we all saw the Chainsaw Massacre. So I wouldn't say no to guys with chainsaws, honestly. I'd be like, yeah, whatever you say, dude. Just keep the chainsaw away from me.
Okay. I will have to just put as a little addendum to this story that this was a long time before the Chainsaw Massacre came out.
Oh.
I am that old.
I'm so sorry.
Is there a guilt about saying no? If you say no to somebody, excuse me, miss, can you come and do this chainsaw work for me?
There's no guilt. If I say no, I have very good reasons, and therefore there is no guilt. And if I knew that I will feel guilty, I am trying to say yes, because it's not like in a people pleasing way. I feel like even if my friends ask me to hang out with them and I don't feel like it, there is no guilt in saying no, because I'm like, no, I had good reasons because I was busy or tired or just didn't want to. And if I am not actually busy, I'm like, yeah, I will say yes, because I have no good reason to say no. So I feel like it really depends on the situation. With strangers, I don't feel any guilt. I'm like, who are you to ask me? I don't know. I would say that I'm not a person who feels guilty, but that's not really true. But I don't think I feel it when I agree or not agree with plans or favors that are asked for me.
I mean, it depends on the kind of thing that you're being asked. I mean, if you meet a stranger on the street and they're covered in blood and clearly distressed, and they say, "Can you help me?" It would be a hard-hearted person just to push them away and say no. You'd look for ways to help safely. But that's the thing these days. I think in societies generally, you feel less safe. An approach from a stranger for anything is to be treated with caution at any
100%.
stage.
And maybe this is a hot take, so bear with me. But I think that in all of these situations, you should think of yourself first. And I don't think it's selfish. I think it's just, there are so many reasons to do that. If your friends ask you to hang out with them and, you just know, or to have a drink with them, and you are waking up early the next day, it's not a good idea. And that should be your first thought. Okay, if I do it, what will be the consequences for me? Because at the end of the day, Just because you are working doesn't mean that your friends are working the next day. And the next day, they won't figure that out for you. If you are hangover and exhausted, they won't go to your job for you. So you kind of have to think about yourself. When you are asked to chainsaw a fucking tree, your first thought should be, no, I'm absolutely frightened of heights. There is no chance I would do that. And you don't have to be asked by strangers. You can be asked by, I don't know, your friend or your parents or whoever. If you are terrified of heights and you know that it would make you so stressed and so uncomfortable, you shouldn't do it. I mean, it's not the end of the world if you say no. So, that goes with everything. And maybe it's a hot take. And once again, maybe I'll be called selfish, but that's just sort of the attitude I have.
Well, actually, I think that you shouldn't feel selfish because there's a certain level of skill and strength in being able to say no, because we have to. We can't say yes to everything. And the example you gave is incredibly relatable, I think, for everybody. We've all been in that situation where, we've had peer pressure. Come on, one drink's not going to do any harm. Just come for an hour. And that's not going to. That's not how it works. Another situation I can think of like that, where you get that peer pressure, where people, and to use an English expression, won't take no for an answer, is, I can remember this again, many, many years ago. I used to be a smoker and I'd given up smoking. And in those days, I used to meet my friends in the pub every night after work. And we'd all be, in those days, you could smoke in pubs. And so, we'd all be standing around smoking. And I knew that if I went to the pub and I wasn't smoking, I mean, again, it's such a long time since I've been a smoker, but I don't know what the conventions are. But at those days, every time, if you pulled out your pack of cigarettes, you would offer it round. And everybody'd have a free cigarette. Or as we say in English, fag. But I know that means something completely different in American English, so we won't go there. But I knew that I would be put in that position, that people would be offering me cigarettes, and I would say no. And then they go on. I mean, no, really, no. And then, why? And if I said, oh, I've given up, then I would be put under even more pressure, because they would all have that sort of little guilt thing in the back of their heads. Oh, he's given up and we haven't, so let's make him smoke again. And
literally,
it only takes one to get you hooked back on it again, because, kids, there's nothing more addictive. Cigarettes are actually more addictive than heroin, I believe.
Wow.
I don't have personal proof of that.
You said that with such confidence.
Because I read it somewhere.
Of course.
So I managed to break the habit. So, but the thing was, when I gave up, and I gave up at a specific, it was midnight on the 13th of August, 2000. And I still had cigarettes left in a packet of cigarettes. And I crushed the packet up and threw it outside in a dustbin. And then I went to work, obviously the next day, but I did not go out socially for about 4 days, just to avoid that situation, till I felt, really quite confident that I would not be a victim of this not saying no for an answer nonsense that goes on.
That's actually, isn't that quite sad that you couldn't hang out with your friends because you knew that they would make you smoke? I mean, if you think about it, like, why should you shrink yourself for other people not to influence you,
Well,
I mean, I know why would you do that. I just, like, if you think about the principle of it, I just think it's quite sad. But yeah, it's very realistic at the same time.
It's that social pressure thing.
Yeah.
I mean, there was I don't know if you call it an advertising campaign, maybe a public service campaign. I think it came from the United States. And again, I'm going back 20 plus years. And it was all to do with drugs and to stop young people, starting on drugs. And the whole campaign was just called Just Say No. And it was trying to, teach people this concept of being able to say no. And, with kids, being in a situation of peer pressure, that is the great danger, that you don't want to be seen as being the wuss of your group. So you don't have the strength to say no. So this whole whole campaign was trying to empower people to be able to say no, because it really is actually very important to be able to say no at times in your life.
And I really hope that, I'm saying it with this hope that it's true, but I think that my generation is much better with that than some older generations. Because I feel like for us, it's just, I don't know, like I was never personally pressured into anything like that. Do you want to drink? No. Okay, cool. Do you want to smoke? No, thanks. Okay, cool. And I just, obviously it won't be every single person, and the peer pressure thing is still there. But I would really love to hope that my generation is much better in accepting no as a simple answer, which sort of brings me to like another thing that I grew up being told that because I don't want to is not a valid reason. Like, oh, do this, do that, blah, 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 whatever. Oh no, I really don't want to. That's not a good reason. Like, stop making excuses, blah, blah, blah. But because I don't want to is a very valid reason. And it's for me, like you were giving obviously like very serious example of that. But I think that it's something that we can all imagine. But for one example that maybe not everyone really realizes is with children and relatives and, like small children especially, giving hugs or kisses or being hugged and kissed by relatives. And I remember I grew up with that being forced upon me. Just like, oh, she's your grandma, like go hug her. And it was something that was expected, and it was something that not only me, I'm sure that so many people can relate to that. It was something that we were pressured into. And when I said, oh, I don't want to hug my grandma, why don't you want that? Well, I just don't want to. That's not a valid reason. Like, what are you saying? But I feel like as a kid, if you say you don't want to, it's basically I am not comfortable with it. But as a child, you obviously don't have the vocabulary to say that. Even though, again, I would love to believe that nowadays children are more educated in that way. But the thing is that all of that sort of built, for me personally, absolute hatred towards physical touch. I absolutely hate when people touch me unless they are someone I'm very comfortable with. And I remember sort of observing it with my younger sister who is 6 years younger than me. And I remember when my grandparents got divorced and my grandma found a new boyfriend, let's say. And we were meeting him for the first time. And I remember we went to his place and he just like wanted to hug us or something like that. And my sister didn't want to. She was like, I don't know, maybe like 6 years old. And she was like, no, I like really don't want to, blah, blah, blah. And he told her, well, but this is my apartment. If you won't give me a hug, I will just kick you out. To a 6 years old kid. A stranger, a person she met for the first time.
Yeah.
And I feel like this was, and I mean, it's sort of an extreme example because, he was a stranger technically, but that happens with older relatives. If he was our biological grandfather, you would never give the child the option to decline that. And I know I had that with my other grandpa who was a heavy smoker, and I hated as a child to give him a hug because he smelled like cigarettes and that made me sick. And I was never, not once in my life, allowed to say no to something like that. And so I think it's things like that just build it. And I genuinely believe that this was one of the reasons why I became a people pleaser. Because I just knew that in certain situations, I wasn't allowed to say no for one reason or another.
Yeah, I think there is a generational element to that. And I could think of, when I was growing up, you just kind of resonated with me there with your memories of your grandmother and similar, because I had quite a large extended family. And I have memories of, obscure elderly relatives who would come to Frith Grange, that was the name of our house, to visit, and then being forced basically to give them a hug. And just that smell of musty old clothes and mothballs and stale whiskey and cigarette smoke and, thick tweed clothes, just
I see. I just opened a certain trauma within you. It's been like
Just
so many decades ago, and I see how you're so traumatized to this day. I'm sorry, I didn't want to unlock that in your
but
memory.
I mean, also kind of the other thing that you unlock there is that English politeness, where
Mm.
we are conditioned to, whatever the situation is, to always be polite, and basically saying no is not polite. So you have to find other ways. And funnily enough, just today, just this morning, I was reading an article on the BBC website about the English and their use of sorry, the word sorry, and the huge number of different meanings that it has. Whereas most non-English speakers, when they learn English, will learn sorry is a word of apology. Oh, if only. It
It's not.
has way many more meanings, and it can mean no. One of them is it can mean no. Somebody asks you to do something and you go, sorry, and just leave it like that. It just means no.
Yeah. But I don't think it's a bad thing, you know? Like when we are talking about saying no, I feel like a lot of people imagine it in this very rude way. If I'm like, oh, I have no problem saying no to my friends want to hang out, I feel like everyone's like, so if I ask you, be like, oh gosh, no, why would you even ask me in this very rude way? Because I feel like saying no sort of perceived as a rude thing, just as you were saying. But you can say no in a very nice way. I don't want to use the word apologizing because you shouldn't apologize for not wanting something, but saying, "Oh, sorry, no, I have no time," or not even giving anything, any reason, just saying, do you want to hang out? Sorry, no, the end. But I think that saying sorry to a certain point is also not a bad thing. As I'm saying, you shouldn't apologize for saying no, but also being a nice and polite person, I don't think it hurts adding sorry to the no.
No, but often the use of the word sorry can be a lot more, to use your favorite phrase, passively aggressive in English. But
That's because you are English.
yeah, and
You guys do that.
it's purely about the way the English use their language.
Yeah.
So I'm not going to get into that in detail, but I think something that's very important is that you really need to be empowered to be able to say no, because there's going to be many situations that you might be placed in that it's just is not appropriate to say yes. And your reasons for it, they don't need validating. Doesn't matter. Like you said, the example, the child says, I don't want to. Okay, that's a reason. It isn't a reason to then overrule the child, but people would in the past, maybe not so much, I hope, today, overrule a child.
I also hope so.
Because a child is small and is easily coerced into doing something. Do you feel like a quiz?
Should I be a people pleaser or should I say no?
Maybe I shouldn't have. No, I should have phrased that in a different way.
I'm sorry, that was such an opportunity for me not to take.
Well played.
But yeah, of course.
You beat me again.
Go on.
You keep
It's
doing
your
this.
time to shine, Nick. Go on.
Your friend texts you at 10 p.m. asking for a favor. What do you do? 1. Reply saying, sorry, can't tonight. 2. Consider first, but end up replying, I'll meet you, but not for long. 3. Immediately replying, yes, I'll meet you ASAP. 4. You get dressed, enter the car, and then you message them with a, I'm there in 5. Or finally, pretend I didn't read it. So actually 5 possible answers there. What would you do?
I just wanted to point out a thought that I had while I was doing that quiz, and that one answer with that, you know, you will get ready and go into the car and then text them. I find it so rude because getting dressed and, you know, going to your car and whatever will take you, I don't know, at least like 10 minutes. And if I am the friend texting you and you don't reply to me immediately, I just find it very rude.
Yeah,
and
so,
it might just be me, but
no,
I don't like
I see what you mean. I think it's, yeah, I get it that you But then not everybody's going to reply to a text at 10 p.m. immediately. I know you probably would, because for you 10 p.m. is just the beginning of your evening. But
That's like dinner time for me. And you shouldn't judge me. You are literally the same. So like,
yes,
what you doing?
I was hoping we weren't going to go there, but I'm
You
a
can't judge
late
me
night.
and expect me not to judge you back, Nick,
Okay.
okay? You should know that by now.
All right.
So speaking of us being very similar, what's your answer?
Mine was actually, sorry, can't tonight.
Okay, noted. Do not ask anything of Nick after 10 p.m. If
Well,
I
not-
text you like 9:59, will you be fine?
Yeah, all right.
Okay.
But don't ask me to come round because you're an 11-hour drive away from me at the moment.
Oh, yeah, I forgot that detail.
And soon you'll be a flight away from me. So what was your answer, though, for that one?
My answer was the second one. The one, I will meet you, but just for a while, I think.
Okay.
And for me, it really depends on the person. And while I was answering it, I sort of imagined my friend Caroline, because I would meet her like immediately. Also, and I mean, she would do the same for me. But every time that happens, and every time we especially say, okay, just for a while, it ends up being like 4 hours.
Okay, another question. Someone asks to borrow a personal item you love. How do you react? Five possible choices. I'm sorry, I'd rather not lend that. It has emotional value. Of course, no need to ask. Sure, here you go. Okay, you can borrow it, but just please be careful. Give me a moment and I'll let you know. So somebody asks you to borrow a personal item
Was
you love.
that your answer? Give me a moment, I will think about it, and then you never mention it again.
That is one possible answer. Or the other one is, if I was being completely honest, I'd say, I'm sorry, I'd rather not lend that. It has emotional value.
I was the same. And I think, as I was saying before, you don't need to give the explanation. You don't have to apologize. A simple no should be enough. But again, in this case, I see nothing wrong with apologizing and saying, oh yeah, sorry, no, it's really emotionally valuable to me. And giving the explanation, just for the sake of, giving some backstory to it. And I think that's a very, very good response and very good boundary.
Yeah. And I think it's important to not feel coerced into agreeing something that is actually in your heart is going to have, is going to be a problem for you.
Yeah. And not feel guilty afterwards.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. Being able to remove the guilt factor is really important and is really hard. And that's why saying no can feel hard sometimes. So let's have a look at another question. Here's one that's quite relevant, particularly for, I would say, modern society, when we're living digitally in contact with our friends and our friends in groups. So this, if you like, this could be a bit Gen Z.
Wow.
Or Gen Z. But I like saying Gen Z. Oh, I'm feeling a bit Gen Z today. Your group chat starts planning a weekend getaway that you're not into. What do you do? 1, say no thanks and mute the chat. 2, say yes because you don't want to disappoint anyone. 3, leave the message unopened for days. Well, how do you know what's in it then?
Notification. Man, you say you feel Gen Z and then you don't know what a notification is. Come on.
4, offer to organize everything. 5, say maybe, but probably won't go. What do you do?
Well, I feel like for someone, again, I think that nowadays I really do have good boundaries. And so for someone with good boundaries, I feel like the answer is very obvious. If I'm not into it, then no, sorry, busy, don't want to, no explanation, simple as that. So I'm trying to sort of remember or feel like how I would feel years ago. I think with this question, my problem kind of is the FOMO, fear of missing out, which is something I do deal with even nowadays. So, I would probably be into the whole plan for the fear of missing out, but that's a totally another topic. We should do that topic. I think that's a really good topic that we should get into, but not now because it's just too broad. But if I'm really not into it, for me it's simple. Then I'm trying to think, like, years ago, I would probably agree. Maybe I would like ask someone else. Because, when you are younger, and I'm sure that all introverted people ever done that, ask your parents, and no matter what they say, you just say, oh, sorry, my mom says no. And I've done that so many times. I was like, Mom, my friend group is like planning this, and I really don't want to go. But like, if I say no, they will peer pressure me, or like they will be angry with me. Can I text them that you told me no for one reason or another? And she was like, yeah, fine. And my mom is the nicest person ever. And she would never tell me no to any plans like that. But in elementary school, I painted her so strict because it was the best excuse. I was like, sorry guys, my mom said no. It was hardly ever true. So that's my excuse. What's your answer?
Well, I got to say that I would slightly chicken out on this, but I think it's part of it is my English politeness, innate politeness. I would say maybe, but then probably not go. And I've done that so many times. And I know what you mean about FOMO, me being Gen Z, fear of missing
Is
out.
it?
I don't know. Certainly I wouldn't say FOMO.
Wow. Okay.
But I know what you mean about the fear of missing out thing. But I've already long since conquered that by just closing my mind to it.
Mm.
I've been sometimes I'm the kind of guy that cuts off his nose to spite his face, to use a very old English idiom. Where
Yeah, whatever the fuck that means.
it means you do something that's against yourself, but because you want to do something slightly against others as well. So I can remember as a really, really small child, being offered the opportunity to go out with friends of my grandparents, and they were offering us sweets and all this kind of stuff. And I just blank refused. And they said, well, we'll go anyway. And they all went out and left me on my own. So, and I
That's
didn't.
cruel. We are really in this episode. We are really discovering your childhood traumas.
I don't know if it's traumas. Let's just jump ahead. I've got my results here from doing the whole quiz, and I really suggest that you do have a go at the quiz. And as ever, the link is with the episode description that you can find wherever you're listening to it, Spotify, Apple, or YouTube. Click on the link and do the quiz, and it'll tell you, and it'll give you a little report. I'm going to read mine in a second, but I'm just giving you a second that you can give us a like and click on subscribe, and we'll love you forever. So this is what my result was. It says, you're a boundary pro. You say no whenever it's needed. You don't just say no, you command it. Your boundaries are clear, unshakable, and respected by everyone around you. People may even envy your confidence and maybe fear you a little, but you never compromise your peace of mind. You know that saying no isn't rude. It's you respecting yourself. Keep owning it. So there you go. I thought that was pretty good. What did you get? Did you do it?
I did, of course. You always doubt it. Like every single episode, you doubt that. Please, did it ever happen that I didn't do it?
Well, I just sort of think back to, when I was your teacher and your homework.
Oh, okay. Fuck, that was so fair enough. Okay, I will give you that. But I did do it. And once again, I can't make fun of you because I got the exact same answer.
Well, there we are.
Which I'm proud of. As I was saying, I know that the recent years, I think I really fixed my boundaries and all of that. So that's something I'm really proud of. But it's not easy. It's not easy, and it's something that will take a long time if it's something you want to fix about yourself. I don't want to call it fix it, but change maybe about yourself. And well, it's work, but at the end of the day, it's worth it. And I remember being younger and thinking that if I say no, I will lose friends. That never happened. Ever. It never happened to me that I would say no, or I would refuse to do something with someone or something for someone, and immediately the person would be like, okay, I don't want to be a friend anymore. That's so unrealistic. But at the same time, it was something I was really scared of when I was younger, and it was the reason I kept saying yes. So maybe if you struggle with it, maybe this realization might help you a bit.
And to finish off, you had a rather nice quote.
It's not my quote, first of all.
Okay.
It's another thing that was sort of like a trend on social media. And once again, I kind of want to take or have your take on it. And it's this, I would say, like modern mindset of if it's not like hell yes, it's a no. And you have to take it with a grain of salt, I do see the point of it, but also sometimes maybe you have to compromise even within yourself. But on the other hand, I feel like that's what I'm doing. Like if someone asks me something and I am not excited about it, I take it as a sign. If someone's like, "Oh, do you want to hang out with us?" And my inner reaction is immediately not, "Wow, yes, let's do it. It's going to be great." And I hesitate. I'm not saying that I will immediately refuse, but I will take it as a sign to within myself think about it and eventually refuse if I feel like it.
I think it's pretty good. It's a good way to have the mechanism to make the decision. But I think the key thing here is that it's actually really quite important to be able to say no and to not be frightened of saying no.
Yeah.
So let's go with it. If it's not hell yes, it's a no.